Am I the asshole for taking my parents' side when my brother came out of the closet? My family has always been liberal and have not been shy about other people knowing it. Like they would have the who they are voting for signs of the front porch. Everyone in the family is also fine with LGBT plus community and supports it. So my 16M brother, 19M, came out as gay today to the whole family. My parents smiled and said congratulations and we will always love you, support him. Then the whole thing was dropped and we moved on with our day. My brother has been angry that my parents didn't have a bigger reaction and has been giving them the cold shoulder. He came into my room and was ranting to me about it. He wanted me to go with him to confront my parents. That's when I said, "Dude, they don't care about who you like to bang." Their response was fine. Isn't this the end goal? For people to not care about people's sexual orientation and be treated the same. You know they support this. What kind of response did you want? Them jumping for joy? Tears? Being angry? Well, he called me an asshole and I wanted to know if I was. I feel like I can relate. I came out as bi to my mom. And I expected one of the two things. Either, I hate you, you're disgusting. Or, I love you, you're still my son, and the hugs and stuff. What happened was, yeah, I'm fine with it. I was kinda happy that my mom's okay with it, but also kinda disappointed there wasn't a bigger reaction. Maybe the pop culture media has made coming out into a very dramatic event. I can see your brother's pav, but he's just being petty now. Your parents support him. What else does he want? Nah. Edit. I gave the wrong judgment. It was a typo. Edit 2. Thanks for all the awards and these many upvotes. These are my first awards ever. Nah. Even families who are liberal toward LGBTQ people as a concept can be surprisingly uncool when it's their family member coming out. Your brother probably spent a lot of time building that moment up in his mind and worrying about the outcome, and he probably hoped for a reaction commensurate with how emotional it was for him. That doesn't make him an asshole, but it doesn't make the rest of you assholes, either, for just being accepting and moving on. Not the asshole. If we want to normalize one's preference, whatever that may be, then there's no need for bells and whistles. Just a loving acceptance, right? No need to shout from the rooftops what should be considered normal. Nah. It takes a lot of courage to share this information with family and be open about yourself. But this may have been a moment your brother built up or idealized for some time now. Not the asshole. I got pretty much the same reaction out of my parents came out as bi, well, not even a congrats. Being gay, bi, or anything else should be normalized. He's throwing a fit because he wanted some big celebration when honestly he should be grateful he doesn't have to go through what some kids do. NTA, I get it, he wanted something more, but you are totally correct in saying that's the end goal. Nah. Coming out is a big deal to your brother and something he probably agonized over for a long time. Your parents' reaction might have come across as, "It's not big deal." Which could translate to "We don't really care." You saying, "Dude, they don't really care." Probably not what he wants to hear reinforced. I can see how it could be hurtful to your brother. However, personally your parents haven't done anything wrong. Good luck to all of you. Not the asshole. The amount of people I know who wish that would happen if they came out of the closet. Not the asshole. Did he want a cake and party? What more did he expect for them to show their acceptance of him? That seems a bit ridiculous. Nah. Coming out is scary, and people build it up in their heads a lot. He's probably been agonizing over this and now all that adrenaline has nowhere to go, and anger is the easiest outlet. Your parents' reaction was also great. Coming out shouldn't be a huge thing. It would be amazing if no one ever had to do it again. Maybe chat to your brother again, and let him know what he did was super brave, and you know it would have been really intimidating, but that he is loved and accepted and supported. Not the asshole. He got what everyone is hoping for when they come out, which is acceptance and support. Given his reaction, however, it feels that he was looking for a party or parade. That simply makes him look like an attention seeker. It's like getting a birthday cake, but getting mad it wasn't as big as they expected it to be. Yeah, nah. I'm surprised at how many straight people in this thread are boldly proclaiming what gay people think and what's best for them. Coming out is scary, no matter how supportive you think your family is. The way you and your family reacted wasn't wrong, but it also wasn't wrong of him to want a reaction that validates how strong his emotions were. Nah, they probably knew it years ago. When my sister came out, she came home one day and I was napping on the couch. She woke me to tell me so that I wouldn't hear it from others. I said thanks for telling me in person, but I knew you were gay years ago. Rolled over and went back to sleep. My parents' reaction was very similar. He probably worked it up in his head for weeks and was caught off guard by how anticlimactic it was to everyone else. Nah, he was probably psyching himself up for either a painful or joyous moment. An emotional moment. Full of emotions himself. Full of adrenaline even perhaps. And that huge buildup of emotions ended in an anticlimax, and that is okay. However, all that emotional turmoil was for nothing, as it were. For him it was a huge deal, and then there was nothing. His emotions probably got the best of him there, ranting to you about your parents' reaction. So yeah, you are not the but neither is he or your parents, I think. It unfortunately takes courage to come out to your family, and I think he'd wanted those emotions and that courage validated. There are too many people involved for me to be able to give one clear judgment, but it would probably be worth asking your brother what he wanted out of the experience. And if it applies, and assuming good faith on your brother's part, suggesting that instead of confronting your parents he go tell them that he's glad they were okay with his coming out and that it wasn't a big deal for them, but that telling them was a big scary deal for him and he really needs a hug and some extra reassurance that it's really okay. Sometimes the only way to get what you want is to ask for it. Doesn't make it less genuine. Not the asshole. Coming out is scary, but once you know your family supports, it's relieving, and that's a good enough feeling. What reaction did he expect? People who come out to their strict, conservative parents wish that their parents would behave as if it is a normal thing instead of being furious. He is lucky enough to have such parents, and he is not appreciating them. Not the asshole for taking this side, but look at it from your brother's POV. Even if he grew up in a very liberal family, he must have been under a lot of stress, still. He's probably been reading all about other comings outs and probably made up this entire narrative in his head. None of that is your or your parents' fault though, but ask him what he was expecting. For him, this has been the biggest day of his life up till now. Pairing all of that stress with an already hormonal teenager, yeah, it's bound to cause some trouble. Not the asshole. He's entitled to be disappointed that he didn't get the fanfare that he wanted, I guess, but your point is completely valid and justified. Sounds like your parents are pretty supportive. No assholes here. I think it's understandable why he would feel a little upset over your parents not reacting in a big way, but at the same time I agree with you that the whole point of normalizing people's sexual orientation is so that they are treated the same and it is not seen as abnormal. I do think you could probably used a bit more tact in how you phrased your response, but I don't think you're the asshole. Not the asshole. You and your parents were right. I think that if the person coming out wants a bigger deal made of coming out, they should literally say that. If your parents' family, friends say they're cool with everything and support you and you still want a bit more, then say so. There's no right way to accept someone's sexuality, so if you have an expectation, just tell the receptive people. If you tell people who love and accept you what you need, want, chances are you'll get it. Can't expect people to be mind readers. Not the asshole. We still live in a world where folks are murdered for being LGBT. That makes all parts of coming out stressful. I can understand being disappointed that the experience was anticlimactic. It's a reasonable reaction to the immense stress built up. But being mad about it is not reasonable. No assholes here in this situation. Though you are the asshole for this clickbait as fuck title. Nah. Your parents were obviously not wrong in how they reacted, but coming out is an incredibly emotional experience, so it doesn't surprise me that your brother needed a minute to calm down. Nah. This is a big deal to your brother and he'd like this big aspect of himself to get a little more attention. So maybe you should ask your family if you'd like to have a little celebration for the fact that your brother trusted you with his truth and that he can be comfortable being himself. Coming out was very stressful for me. It probably felt anticlimactic to him, as HW may ha been building up to it over a long time. At the same time, you aren't in the wrong either. Nah. No assholes here. Obviously it was the best result he could have hoped for, but as a gay person coming out is a very big deal sometimes. It sounds like this was something he was struggling with for a while, so their nonchalant acceptance was anticlimactic. Not the asshole I don't know from experience, but wouldn't the whole aim of the LGBT group to have less reaction to coming out? Wouldn't that be a step closer to just being yourself and being accepted without having to make a proclamation? Like, it's so well accepted no one needs to come out anymore, they just are themselves. So your brother came out at 19, I'm betting that he has known since he was around 13. That's 6 years of building something up in his head. It's been a long process for him, and whilst your family's approach to his coming out was great, it's juxtaposed to his experience of it. If you spend a long time on anything, you think people will have a proportionately large reaction. Otherwise the only question left is, why did I spend so long on it? Nah. Gonna go with nah. Coming out is hugely stressful, and underreactions can come off as minimizing that stress. I came out to my mom when I was 15 and her reaction was, okay, I figured, basically, but she implemented very weird rules with me that she didn't put onto my straight brother when I dated a girl. I wish she would have been consistent and more kind about it. Your brother's hurt is valid even if his reaction to that hurt isn't. Your point is valid too. No assholes here. Unfortunately, as gay people, we have seen so many times in media that coming out is this momentous occasion that deserves a huge response. But that's antiquated and just not how it always goes. He may have been expecting a huge show of support, but your parents' reaction was completely reasonable and also shows how much growth the world has gone through in a short time. No assholes here. As someone who was momentarily, we've mended that wound, rejected by the first person I came out to, I would have killed for that reaction. It made it harder for me to accept how I felt and start a relationship with my spouse. Did he want a cake? Or a party? Not the asshole. I get where you're coming from, but sometimes it kind of sucks when people you love act like coming out isn't a big deal. It is. Sometimes it's nice to know people not only don't care, but are actually celebratory about who we are. It's like if you told your parents you were going to school for something, and they were nice about it, but didn't really ask questions or try to understand it. So nah, I think. Nah, neither of you is wrong here. Coming out is an enormous, emotional thing for most people. And no matter how supportive people may be of the concept of LGBTQ+ people, lots of people react differently when it's someone in their life. I don't blame him for being disappointed. It's a heavy thing he's been carrying around, and no matter how accepting your family is, he was taking a big risk in coming out, and he hoped for more. But I don't blame you for thinking that's ridiculous, because you probably do not have a clue how any of that feels. No assholes here. As a parent, when my kid came out, I told them I was proud of them for feeling comfortable sharing with me, asked a couple questions and asked if they had any questions for me. They were pretty young, and wrapped up with a hug. Pretty sure I also reminded them they were too young to date still. Sounds like he had an appropriate and supportive parent response, which is still more than so many get, and he's not happy. Nah. If you are someone who supports the LGBTQ+ community but are not part of it, you don't understand that it's not just who you bang. Once you come out there's no going back. You need to accept who you are and stop being ashamed. You will have to hold your head high knowing that your life will be different in many ways for better or for worse, and that's scary. Obviously it's great that you support him, but I think it's okay for him to want a bit more of a reaction from you. Also yes, the end goal is wanting everyone to be treated the same, but that's not happening, so it's ignorant to pretend it is. Not the asshole. He should be thankful he got a warm, not arsed response from your family and not be booted out onto the street for his sexual orientation like some kids. Your brother just sounds like he wants drama. Nah. As someone who did come out, and was stressed about it, your parents' reaction of approval and love is what should be normalized. Thanks to you and your parents for being that support system. I also get not wanting to make it a big deal because being gay should be normal in society. But I totally get your brother's feeling because no one is really acknowledging how hard this conversation actually was for him. It doesn't feel like you out your parents or understanding how much anxiety and pain he was holding in. After taking off that huge burden of sharing that news to the people who love and raised you, a passing by, "I love you and always support you," feels like a lackluster response. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. No one deserves a round of applause for who they find sexually or romantically attractive. Not the asshole. It is not up to you or your parents to follow your brother's script. He should be grateful that he belongs to a family that just loves him, not, in spite of, or extra because of, his orientation. He should be grateful that it's not a big deal to them. Being gay isn't an accomplishment, it's simply who a person is. It's astounding to me that we live in a world where the ostracizing a gay person because they are gay is wrong to more people than it is right to others, and your brother is pouting because. Why? Because he received acceptance rather than a ticker tape parade? Boo. Not the asshole. Did he want more drama? The fact that coming out is even a thing is indicative of how homophobic we still are as a society. If Op is straight and cis male, he will never have to sit anyone down and explain or clarify his identity, it's just assumed. Until we have a society where we don't make those assumptions, we're forcing every LGBTQIA+ person to at some point announce they are different than what the world around them continually shows them they are supposed to be. There's an implied otherness, or aberration. There's a normal that isn't you. That's oppression. Coming out is facing that oppression head-on. It's wonderful you and your parents are so accepting, but it's not a casual, neutral thing your brother did. It's not a casually neutral world we live in. He needs you to see that. I'll say no assholes here because he's 16, and I think the internet has led to certain expectations about what happens when one comes out. I'd ask him if he'd like some sort of celebration, if your parents are on board with that. Nah. But maybe get him a card and the family can get a little cake because he was needing for something a little bit extra, you know. Besides, with everything being kinda crappy right now, there's no reason to not celebrate the little things. No assholes here. I don't think you and your parents are assholes for reacting in that way. He is not an asshole either because coming out is very stressful and he expected a bigger reaction. OMG, my stepdaughter did very similar. She came out to an entire family, save her brother, who are all bisexual. My daughter, my stepdaughter's dad, myself. Like, openly bisexual family. So she comes out as bisexual, we say congratulations, we love you, we accept you. Less than an hour later, she's complaining to my bestie about how we didn't treat her confession as a bigger deal. Like, we knew and had been gently reassuring her all year long that we were bisexual and LGBTQ friendly so that she could come out of the closet. I understand it was a huge deal to her, but it was kinda old news to us, though we did at least give her a positive reaction for finally admitting what we all knew. This is that rarest of all occurrences, nobody's an asshole here. Mass media has conditioned us to think that coming out is a either big old traumatic event, like the death of a parent, or the most joyous occasion imaginable, like the birth of a child. It's completely reasonable that a nervous young man might expect a stronger reaction. It's also completely reasonable that the rents had already figured it out and that bro was just confirming something they already knew. Nah, your brother needs some cooling off time, though. It is a big deal to him. That's why he's so mad. No assholes here, you guys reacted perfectly. I think what the issue is with your brother is that he probably doesn't think anyone took him seriously. He's been holding it inside forever, probably terrified of saying something, and when he finally does, everyone is super nonchalant about it, or like they don't care. If I were to put myself in his shoes, I feel like it's because he's psyched himself up for so long that his mind can't comprehend the reality of the fact that your parents are too chill about it. In any case, good for your brother. I know someone that came out at 35 married with children. Imagine the heartbreak in that situation. Nah, but cut your brother some slack. I also grew up in an ultra-liberal, be who you wanna be, kinda household, but I didn't come out until I was 22. No matter how woke my parents were, I still built up that moment in my head for the better part of 22 years. You have no clue what his internalized journey has been. It can be something that consumes our thoughts for years, so if it turns out to be a, yeah, that's cool, no biggie, kind of moment. It can feel invalidating to the years possibly of torment, or at least focus, that consumed your brother for 19 years. No assholes here, I guess. I feel like your brother just reacted like this because he had probably been preparing himself for people to make a big deal out of it and to have to defend himself. I don't think he means it in an ungrateful way, it's just not what he expected.